Okay, I'm not going to say that all over again, but I'm Clark Fredericks of Greenlight Go. So we are committed to continuing to train people in advanced coach training. And today we are so privileged to have Rachel Shuri here, who has designed an incredible workshop on coaching children and young people. And so we're gonna go through a little bit of that and talk about the course that's coming in April, and answer any questions that you have. So, and for questions, if you have a question, you all know the chat feature by now, right? If you don't, there's a chat button in Zoom below on there. You can click there, and then you can type a question, and then I can read the question, and I can give it to Rachel as we're going through the process. And then there'll be some time at the end for you to ask Rachel any other question that you might have, about the course or about coaching children and young people. But right now, I want to introduce you the star of the show, Rachel Shuri. She's been in the field of education for many, many years. I'm just gonna let her talk about herself. And so Rachel, welcome. So delighted to have you here. Who are you and how did you get into this profession?
Well, thank you, Clark. And I'm really looking forward to spending this time talking with you and also with all you that are here about the importance of coaching children and young people. So I guess my background and most of my career before stepping into the arena of coaching has been in the field of education and also psychology for probably over 20, 25 years. And this has mainly been in international schools around the world, in Australasia, in New Zealand, where I'm from, in Asia, in Indonesia, in the UK, and also in Europe, where I'm based here in Switzerland. And this has been as a classroom teacher, a learning support specialist, and also a counselor / educational psychologist. So I guess my previous experience working in education lays the foundation for my coaching work that I am doing now. And I guess in terms of stepping into a coaching capacity, it was at one stage of my education career that I started to think and reflect about how we support our young people. And I sensed that we kind of needed another way, another way to help our young people to manage life's ups and downs, kind of like a more holistic or a more rounded way. And from this, I saw the value of coaching and working with young people. And I recognized in my work with others in the school setting that this was actually a really powerful way and made a huge difference. So I guess now I've stepped away from working directly in the school setting, and I work full-time as a coach, still working in the education field, but also coaching children and young people. So I'm lucky enough to have one foot in each of my passions of education and coaching. Yeah, so that's, I guess, how I got to where I am today. Yeah,
that's great, Rachel. And so what drives you to what's your passion for working with children and young people and in this need?
I think what really drives my passion in this area is the strong belief that I have in the need to advocate for, and I guess place emphasis on building up the social and emotional and overall well-being and mental health of our children and young people today. And this is in order for them to kind of like develop a positive mental health mindset and also coping mechanisms just to cope with what life throws at them and to live a balanced and fulfilled life, I guess. Yeah, I think the pressures and demands on our children and young people today are huge, and they're needing to constantly adapt to a dynamic and ever-changing world. And, this is an area that's gaining a lot more traction. And, we're living in what we call, what is coined a VUCA world, which is very much a term that's used in the education field, I'm sure in other fields as well. And it means a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. So our young people, I feel, are needing support. And coaching provides a really strong platform to help our young people develop those tools and skills in order to develop a positive mental health mindset. So it's that strong belief in advocating for the well-being and mental health of our young people today.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, so with coaching this particular group of people, children and young people, what ages are we talking about here?
I work mainly with 8 years old up to about 17, 18. And that's what the training course is on, based on about 8 years old up to 17, 18. I have gone lower with certain tools, and I'm happy to talk about my tools later if you like, where some of the tools cater for 5, 6, 7-year-olds. But mainly a coaching capacity, a full coaching capacity for about 8, 9 up to about 17, 18 years old.
So
Yeah.
they can be fairly young, actually, and also into adolescence. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably one of the biggest questions I get asked. At what age can you start coaching? And with the younger ones, with the really little ones, I've even done it with 4 and 5-year-olds. It's all about the tools you use with them, using the right tools with them, coaching tools.
And so, how do you see, the coaching approach? 'Cause that's what you're talking about, bringing in coaching this particular group of people. What do you see the difference in the coaching approach versus other kinds of
Yeah.
ways that people might work with them?
Yeah. I think as it's such an empowering approach, very much a solution-focused approach, and this is what makes it a really great vehicle to work with and support our young people. And coaches and people that work with in a coaching capacity with our young people are in a really unique position to utilize coaching skills and techniques in order to create this empowering space to help our young people move forward. And I have to say, just there's several ways I've noticed in my own coaching experiences with young people on just how it does empower them. And one of those ways is that coaching very much focuses on the present moment and future hopes. It's about what they can do and what they could do. And it's about moving forward from the space of where they are right now and away from their challenges and where they would like to be. And I think many find coaching an energizing and a motivating and empowering experience when to focus on the present and the future rather than analyzing past experiences.
Right. That sounds really empowering, actually.
It is very empowering. And also another way is that coaching very much focuses on internal resources. And I found when my approach shifted to an emphasis on internal resources that the young person possesses, rather than a detailed analysis and diagnosis of a problem, that young people feel more motivated and empowered to move forward through exploration, growth, and taking some action. Yeah.
God, it sounds like it's so needed for everybody. Like we could have all used that, as we were growing up.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, another thing I've just thought of now is that also in coaching, the young person works on self-defined goals and outcomes. So they decide the direction that coaching takes. And because this process is led by the young person, they actually have more buy-in and they're more motivated to move forward. And it gives them a sense of being in control, which we all like, right? We all like to be in a little bit of control.
Rather than be told what to do, they're actually in the driver's seat of their life at a very young age.
Yeah.
So from this background that you have, this passion you have for working with with the young children and young people, you develop a course.
I did develop a course.
Yeah, and which is what we want to talk about. We want to get into some of the things that are part of this course. And so just give us an overview of this coaching young people course.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this course. My aim was to create a training program, I guess, based on my experience working with children and young people, then to take that and look at it through a coaching lens to develop a best practice model, a best practice process, and also tools and strategies that support this. So in terms of an overview of the course, the course is very much focused on the coaching model, and the coaching model is grounded in the key foundations and skill set and central to the coaching relationship. There's also the coaching process, which is a framework to guide you, or to guide coaches through the actual stages of the coaching relationship, or from start to finish. And also tools, and I've created a bunch of tools that throughout the process that coaches or anyone who takes the course will be introduced to the toolkit, and the tools support each stage of the coaching process. So that's a brief overview. It's the coaching model, the coaching process, and then all the wonderful tools that come with that I've created for that.
That's great. Why don't we look at the coaching? Let's take it by steps, and maybe look at the coaching model first, and then we can do the coaching process.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then some tools, and then a little bit about the structure of the course. You know,
Okay. Sounds good.
the 4-day course that we're going to be having in April.
Okay.
So I'm going to share the model itself. We actually have a question here from somebody. What is coaching model to use? Well, here it is. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and then maybe you can take us through just briefly through some of the parts of that model. Here it is. Let me share that. So if you're all seeing that, that's the course that's coming up. And here's what we're going to be doing today: an introduction to the model, the vision will be presented in the course, how the coaching approach empowers young people in today's world. But here's the model.
Yeah, so this is here's the model. Let me just take you through this briefly. And this is a coaching model that I designed, and it offers a comprehensive methodology or approach to coaching children and young people. It's a child-centered approach and provides a grounding, or I guess what's important to keep in mind to coach this niche effectively. So the whole model is central to the coaching process. And as you can see in the slide, there are 3 key elements, the white, the blue, and the gold circle. And I view these elements as platforms. And it's important when coaching a young person that the coach stands on or takes into account each of these platforms. And actually, let me explain a little bit about the well-being dimensions. And the well-being dimensions they're at the center of the model. And the well-being dimensions are of the whole child, and all else evolves around that. And this is the core of the model. And the model, I guess, is grounded in the premise that coaching addresses all the well-being dimensions of the young person, and they're interconnected, interwoven, and fundamental, I guess, to our overall well-being and our learning and growth. And it's when coaching, it's actually difficult to separate these well-being dimensions, because this is what the young person or child brings to coaching. I'll just say one sentence on each of those, just so you know what each one means, just really briefly. Social well-being, this refers to how the young person interacts, connects, and communicates with others around them. Behavioral well-being refers to how a young person acts and functions, like their behavior, in response to feelings, emotions, and I guess everyday environment and situations. Emotional well-being, this is the ability to be aware of, I guess, and understand emotions and feelings, both in themselves and others. Cognitive well-being, this refers to the ability to perceive and understand the world around them. Health well-being, this includes physical and mental health, and many people term this physical health. But however, as I believe the word that mental health is just as important as physical health, I've called this health well-being. And spiritual well-being, this refers to a sense of a young person feeling connected with themselves and others around them. And it kind of relates to having a sense of optimism and purpose and contentment and belief in oneself as a unique individual. So that's at the center of the model.
And so would you say this is what you're focused on, creating these well-being dimensions, as sort of an outcome, or sort of a way that you want to?
It's like the well-being dimensions are to do with the young person, the whole child, and these are the areas that a young person will bring into like bring into the coaching relationship or anywhere, into the school, into the classroom, it's who they are, it's their whole being, what makes them up.
And these things are things that through coaching, then you develop these in them,
Yeah.
strengthen
Yeah.
these.
Yeah, and the tools, and I'm happy to talk about some of the tools soon. The tools address the well-being dimensions, and certain tools are aimed at certain dimensions more than others. Yeah.
Okay, and then we're going to talk about the tools a little bit later. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about the tools soon. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Because the tools are really are fantastic. There's some really great tools that you have that from people to work with. But tell us a little bit more about the model. What's this next layer, this blue layer, the fundamental foundations of coaching relationship?
Yeah, the fundamental foundations, they're the key elements that underpin the coaching relationship. And they work towards coaching being successful, I guess. And it's like the well-being dimensions are to do with the young person, the whole child. And the fundamental foundations is the platform that holds the coaching relationship. So when coaching a young person, the coach needs to consciously develop the coaching relationship in those 4 key areas in order to establish a solid grounding. And like the well-being dimensions, the foundations are intertwined and just as important as each other. So we've got the foundation of us developing a safe and trusting environment. And of course, that helps to cultivate the trust to connect and develop a rapport with the coach, which brings us to the next fundamental foundation, the rapport and connection. And this leads to them being more, having that rapport and connection leads to them being more open and authentic, and also supports future learning and growth.
Mhm.
And I guess let's go down to the open-mindedness. This means the coach is receptive and willing and open to exploring a wide variety of situations, ideas, and perspectives in the coaching relationship. And of course, that provides a fertile ground to develop the 4th foundation, which is collaboration. And you know what, coaching children and young people never or very rarely happens in a vacuum. There's always the involvement of others who also have an interest in the well-being of the young person. So this could be parents, caregivers, the educational environment, other therapists, outside agency. So the ability to collaborate and communicate alongside others. But in the training, I will go into this in a lot more detail.
They seem to work. They absolutely have to work together here, is what I see. And
Yeah.
create the space.
Yeah.
For the child or the young person to really open up and talk
Yeah.
about what's happening.
Yeah, it's like the container, like the platform, the container that holds that coaching relationship. Yeah.
That's great. So now we have this outer ring that's core
Mhm.
skills and attributes. What's that?
Yeah, and these are the unique, coaching skills that a coach brings to the coaching relationship. None of these will probably be new to anyone that is working with children and young people. It's like the coaching presence, and it helps you to be fully present with the young person, not just in the coaching session, but also in building the fundamental foundations and also being aware or in sync with the well-being dimensions. So these are all the skills, and in the training we're going to unpack all these skills and attributes to really get into what they mean and what they refer to.
Yeah, and practice them, obviously, because the
Yeah.
course is designed to be an interactive, experiential.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course we will get to practice all these, for example, inquiry mindset. This refers to curiosity and powerful questions and getting, stepping into that space of using those when working with young people to develop that connection. Yeah.
Great. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share real quick, just to come back to you and just and see if there are any questions so far about that. That's the model. That's the foundation of the course, and then we can get into the process, which we go through. But I just wonder if there's any questions out there or some comments that you can put in the chat. Just give a little space for that. I think it's great what you've designed and how thoughtful you put this together, but that comes with all your experience and working with children. Um, some comments here really like the model. Yeah, it's very powerful and it's very simple, but there's so many, what I see is there's so many nuances and things to consider in that.
Yeah, and I do want to say that, you know, the model's important. It creates the foundation, you know, but after that, when we go into the process and the tools, it becomes a lot more, the training becomes a lot more experiential, and we get into working in all sorts of areas of the coaching process. But the model is like that grounding sort of. And I think it's you know, we spend a lot of time on the first day, not a lot of time, but we spend time on the first day just grounding ourselves in that, because the model is what guides us. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question here, and I understand kids do not come voluntarily. How do you help them to collaborate?
Oh, I love that question. And in a minute, we're going to go into the process, but part of the process, and I don't know if this is a good time, Clark, to move into the coaching process, because this part is creating the engagement and how to develop that collaboration. So
why don't go ahead and share the screen on that one.
Yeah, and let me answer that question in that part.
Which will include this how we have to collaborate, and then there's also some tools which I understand help the child to open up. So let me go back here, and I'll share this and move to the next slide.
And that's a very real question. Even in the last week, actually, I've had two young people that didn't want to be there. And so it's a real process on getting them to engage in the coaching process. So this is, I've created this is a coaching process, and I've created this as a framework from my own personal experience coaching young people to help you guide you through, I guess, the actual stages of the coaching process. And now the whole course is aimed around this, and the whole training will take you through each of these different stages. So at the very center is creating the engagement, and that relates to that question just now. And creating the engagement is central to the coaching process model. And this is the stage where the initial coaching relationship is established, and it's a collaborative process, which involves not only the young person, but also the parents or caregivers. Like I said before, coaching doesn't happen in a vacuum. So in the training, we will learn ways to actually establish the relationship with the young person and the caregivers, and what's important to focus on at this stage, and how to actually go about developing that initial coaching relationship. So in the training, we'll go into detail on how to onboard the young person, how to collaborate with the parents and caregivers, or whoever are mandating in some situations the coaching. So that's the coaching engagement. The next stage,
like a really important step too, that's in the heart of it, that all the stakeholders are involved and engaged in the process.
Yeah.
The vacuum seems really central to beginning this whole process.
Yeah, and there's quite a good tool for that. And perhaps after this we could talk about some of the tools, and I'll talk a little bit about that specific tool that people will be introduced to. Yeah.
Great. So after the initial creating the engagement and what's the next step?
Well, the next step is a self-exploration process. For those of you who are coaching at the moment, you may know this is the discovery. This is kind of the discovery stage, but I sort of call it the self-exploration process, because I feel that children and young people tap into that sort of wording a little bit more. So the self-exploration process provides the space for the coach to build that solid grounding, I guess, for the coaching relationship. And the aim is to put the young person at ease and help them to step into a mindset of coaching being a really positive experience. And also So getting to know them. So in the training, you will learn how to take a young person through the self-exploration process, what's important to keep in mind there, some fabulous tools that go along with that as well. So the next stage, any questions on the self-exploration process?
Let me look in there. What's happening in the chat?
There's a big question. Maybe we can leave that to the end.
I'm sure each aspect of the model can be looked at alone very effectively to help the young person isolate the element to focus upon. And within this is a lot of synthesis, which is ideal on one-on-one to help guide the young person, or indeed anyone, to recognize themselves and help move with whatever the questions and issues are. That comes from Caroline. It's great. And then Vivian, how do you help children understand and integrate the abstract concepts on which the model is based?
You know what? That's a good question. And one thing I should have said is that the model is for the actual coach. I don't actually go through the model with the young person. That would be a very interesting thing to think about, to be honest. But the model is for the coach on how to ground the coach in the coaching engagement, and how to actually coach children and young people, you know. So yeah, so I probably haven't gone through that with the young person, but it's more for the coach.
This is the framework for the coach to follow and give them structure, if you will.
Yeah. The tools, for sure. The tools you can, I go through with children and young people. I feel we need to get. I'm excited to talk about these tools in a minute.
Oh, I can't wait to get there too. But let's go. So some of these tools are actually embedded in the coaching process, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So just kind of just walk us through quickly the next step, establishing the goals, the toolkit, and the action follow-up, and then we can answer some questions and get to some of those tools and how they support all this.
Okay, so establishing the goals, and this is an important part of the coaching process, as it helps the young person to stay focused by shifting from, I guess, abstract thinking surrounding their current situation to concrete goals that are relevant and attainable. And in the training, you'll learn how to use information that organically arises from the self-exploration process to create those goals.
Mm-hmm.
And the next stage, the toolkit. This is all about meeting the goal challenge. And this is all about various tools that you can use to support the coaching conversation. And these tools actually support all part of the coaching process. So here, you'll be introduced to some tools, but also know that all parts of the coaching process introduces tools to support that part of the process. Mm-hmm. And I think that the last section is the action plan and follow-up. And this part of the coaching process refers to keeping track of what's covered during the coaching sessions, and it helps to consolidate learning and to also decide on the next steps to put in place to move forward. So in the training, we will work through the process, I guess, on how to collaboratively do this with the young person. And again, there will be some tools that support that process.
So I'm gonna stop the share and just bring everybody back, and then see if there are any questions. But that seems like a really comprehensive roadmap for coaches to follow, and then with the model and the tools that all supports the coach to work with these with children and young people.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The word roadmap is a good word for it. And as part of that process, although it's a process, It doesn't need to go in that same direction. You may jump from different to different parts of it, but central is that creating the engagement. Which goes again back to that question somebody asked: how do you get people involved? How do you get them on board to to be part of the coaching session? So in the training, we really go in depth into that.
Yeah. So before we get to tools, I'd like to talk about you. You talking about the training, and so Walk us through a little bit of what will happen in these 4 half days or these 2 full days. In this case, we're planning on 4 half days, but this could be a 2-day workshop as well.
Yeah.
But walk us through what will happen and what people will get from each of these segments.
Okay. Well, like you said, it's a 16-hour training. So what people are going to get is the foundation. They'll get the foundation, the process, and a skill set and practical experience to be able to confidently coach children and young people. They'll also get the model and the process. They'll also learn how to engage and work with children and young people, including how to collaboratively design the alliance as well, which means how to decide how to work together and design the alliance with all the stakeholders. Often, like I said, coaching doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's parents involved, there's perhaps schools involved. You'll get a bunch of tools that you can use immediately. You will get live demonstrations of each tool and also the chance to practice in a pair or a small group. You'll also get everything that we cover is also provided in a manual, and it's a very extensive and in-depth manual. So the process is in there, the model is in there, and it's explained in detail, and all the tools that we will go over are explained on how to use them and how to implement them. And as part of the manual, participants will also receive visuals at the end of the manual that they're able to photocopy and use in their own work with children and young people. Yeah.
That's really great. So one of the things, as I understand about the course is because of your experience, you're actually bringing scenarios for people to work with, and you're demoing real scenarios of real situations that you've encountered.
Exactly. So another thing that participants will get is that for all the tools that we introduce, they will be modeled. So there'll be demonstrations on the tools, and participants will have the chance to view those demonstrations and also to debrief them and discuss them, and also to practice that in triads and dyads. And with those tools, we'll be working with a variety of situation scenarios. And these scenarios we'll be working with are based on real life sort of situations that I've encountered in coaching children and young people. Yeah.
I think that's really, it's so valuable that you come from so much experience, and you come from having worked with these people and the things that people will encounter.
Yeah.
I understand there's going to be a section of the course that will be addressing some of maybe the ethical issues or some of the challenges and some of the the things that people will face. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and there will be a lot of time throughout the training, and like Clark said, it's over 4 days. It's 16 hours long, over 4 days and 4-hour blocks, and there'll be a lot of time for questions and answers on how to handle like that question at the beginning, when the child or young person doesn't want to come to coaching, how to do that, how to handle ethical considerations online, very much online. Most of 90% of my coaching work with young people is online. How to handle that with the ethical side and the child protection side as well. How to work with the parents, and how to manage that as well. Yeah, so we'll be going, there'll be a lot of questions that come up along that we'll work on answering as well.
That's great. Yeah, because I think it's really important for people going into this niche to be well trained, and well informed about some of the things that they might be facing, and that's what.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I know. We got a question here. How present is playing in the tools? How present is playing in the tools?
How present?
Around
can we talk about the tools? I feel
we can talk about the tools, maybe that answered the question.
Yeah.
I know you wanted to go there. So you have a lot of, I've talked to you, we've been working with this for quite a while now. You've created some amazing things amazing tools to work with people in different age groups to bring out and help them to express themselves. So just explain a little bit of that, and then we want to maybe visit a tool or two.
Yeah, sure. So these are tools that I've created and used over the years and found effective to use with children and young people. And the tools support all stages of the coaching process. And although they're introduced at the different stages that you've seen in the process, the creating the engagement, the self-exploration, the goal setting, all the different stages of the process, in reality, they can actually be used at any stage of the coaching relationship. And one thing I really want you to know is that the tools are differentiated and adapted so they can be used with a wide variety of ages, from probably about 7 years old up to 18 years old. And within the tools, and by the way, I do use some of them with adults as well, if any of you are coaching adults. I also use them with adults sometimes. So, and within the tools, you'll be given various options on how to use and implement the tools. So, for example, in creating the engagement, I have a very simple tool, and this goes again back to that question at the beginning, that I'll introduce that focuses on getting to know the young person and how to carry out that first initial meeting. In the self-exploration process, I've got 2 really cool tools. And I've designed these tools to really explore self-exploration on several levels. And in fact, I'd love to give you a glimpse of one of those tools now. And these are called strengths cards.
Let me set that up.
Can you do you have a slide there of that? Fabulous.
There we go.
There we go. These are the strengths cards. And I introduced strengths cards as focusing on strengths can often be a difficult way of thinking for some young people who may be more used to focusing on what their limitations are. So strengths cards are a really tangible and concrete tool to help the young person identify and name some of their strengths. And with this tool, you will be given a bunch of really cool, powerful questions and activities that can be used to encourage self-reflection of strengths. So this is a resource, a tool that participants will be introduced to, and I've designed this and I collaborated with a local artist who did the actual drawings as well. And I know that artist put a lot of time and effort into making sure the drawings really depicted what the strength was. So this is a huge tool, one of my favorite tools that I work with young people on.
I think here, Rachel, we have 5 of the cards, but there are how many cards?
And there's actually 32 strengths. And this is just a snapshot here. There's 32 strengths. But also with the cards comes, and participants will get this part of it. There are a whole bunch of powerful questions that really help a coach to work with the strengths cards with the young person. And the powerful questions, they really inspire reflection and work towards expanding a young person's thought processes. These cards can actually be brought. You can buy these cards, and if you buy the cards, you get a whole bunch of activities that go with them to help. How do we use these cards? Well, how do you use these cards? There's so many ways you can use them. I use them, well, for a start, what the whole aim of them is that they really build up a young person's, I guess, resilience and ability to solve problems. And as part of these cards, I have with these cards a whole bunch of ideas that help the young person understand how the cards can help them. For example, I actually go over this with the young person. I've got them a couple here that I go over with the young person, and I say, these cards, these are better. They're going to help you better understand yourself. They're going to help you to discover your inner strengths. They're going to help you cultivate self-compassion and self-acceptance and self-reliance. They're going to help you just, use these to solve problems. Now, in terms of how I use them, I have 14 different activities that I've written on how to use these cards. So it depends if maybe maybe it's an embodiment activity or a role-playing activity. Sometimes I get them to choose the strengths that they feel that they describe who they are now, or which strengths they feel are more important to them. Why are they important to them? Which strengths do they find hard? What strengths would they use to achieve a goal? So as part of the coaching conversation, I use these, and these cards come with a whole load of activities on when to use them and how to use them.
That's great.
Where can we find these cards?
I'm gonna stop the share for a second.
Yeah, maybe we can put the link on, or somebody's put the link on where you can.
Victoria, she's already on it. That's great. Yeah. So the cards themselves in the course, you'll have pictures of these 32 strengths, but the cards themselves are available and they're beautiful. I just want to show them to you. You know, they're just really beautiful, and they're easy for the child to select, and because of I imagine because of the drawings and the words, it also helps too with
exactly. And the artist is actually a behavior specialist, and she put a lot of effort into making sure that, you know, the actual image depicted what was what the actual strength was. But importantly, you get a whole bunch of activities and ways that you can use those cards. Yeah, but I don't want to spend the whole time on talking on that tool, because there's about 15 tools that in the training that you will be introduced to, and other tools include a power goal infographic that I've designed that helps you set the goals with the young person. You know, often young people come to coaching with very ambiguous goals, or goals that have actually been put on them by another adult in their life, you know. So tools that help you to set the goals, also a power goal planning exercise, tools that help with the inner critic, or tools that help the young person with associating feelings and thoughts and impact, tools to support all parts of the process. There's a bunch of tools.
And then I love that, because tools are really important, because that really helps you as a coach and to work with this niche. That's great. Right now, we have a question. Do you have them in Spanish or French? We're working on it. They're not available yet, but we're going to get them.
You know what, this is a really good question, because I'm right in the process of putting them into German. And Clark and I've talked about putting them into Spanish. French, yeah, why not?
Why not? Every language. There is one, before we go away from the cards, there's something significant about the pebbles that I really like. What's the significance of pebbles?
Yeah, the idea of the pebble, they're called pebble strength cards because the pebble builds on you know, the pebble builds up. It's like a pebble tower, and it's like strengths. Our strengths build on each other. And somebody said, how do you use these cards? You know, there's, like I said, there's 15 different activities, but you know, if you think I am flexible, you know, I am patient, the strengths build on each other. You know, if you were adventurous, for example, you know, to be adventurous, you might have had to be decisive. You might have had to be confident. So that's the idea of the pebbles, and I encourage the young person to think of the pebbles piling up on top of each other, and that's what our strengths do. And that's the whole idea of the pebble symbolism. And the artist really stepped into that space and was very creative and trying to portray that. Yeah.
And if you look here, it's the pebble stack is the eye.
Yes,
so
that's
really,
right. Yeah,
it's really, you know, the child. You're building their strength to be their eye. You know, I love that. Anyway, I was just taken by that, and the thoughtfulness that came along with that.
yeah.
So let's talk. We have just a little bit of time left, and want to talk about the course itself. You've done a lot. We're going to, in the course, we're going to go through the whole coaching process from the beginning and creating the engagement, and then moving through, you know, how to get to know the child and the strengths and the goals, and the whole course is moving through that whole coaching process, as I understand it. So that's one thing. I wonder if we have any questions about that might be coming up. So what kind of the situations or objectives do you usually address?
Yeah, and in the training, we'll go over that in terms of, I'm assuming that question is what reasons do young people come to coaching for? So, and we'll go over that in the training, but it's anything around surrounding, I have the 3 I had last week. One was transitioning back to Switzerland, back to live in Switzerland. They needed coaching on that. One wanted coaching around their social relationships and friendships. I have an 18-year-old young man who is needing coaching over the breakup of his relationship. I'm coaching somebody else on how to just manage their parents and their family life. Yeah, all sorts of situations that people come to coaching for.
And again, some of those situations are challenging, and you have to have some awareness, and that's also what you'll address.
Yeah, and it's how to deal with those situations and how to know when it needs to go further than coaching as well. Often I'll get somebody come to me for coaching, and we do a lot of work on coaching, on helping them to move forward and addressing the things that they want coaching for, and perhaps what the parents want coaching for their child. And then sometimes it needs to go to a different level. So yeah, so I teach people in the course how to assess when coaching turns to something else. Yeah.
That's great. So is there any sort of pre-work, or if people were to come to this course? I know we've designed it for already experienced coaches, so we're not training people in basic coaching skills, but what kind of other pre-work might?
I think, you know what, I think coming with a curious mind, being open-minded, getting ready to have fun. It's like a laboratory. It really is an experiential 16 hours over 4 days and 4-hour blocks where there's a lot of hands-on work. You watch demonstrations of the tools, you have a chance to debrief it and to discuss it. Then you get to go into a triad or a dyad to practice these tools yourself. So come with a beginner's mindset, I guess. You will be sent the manual beforehand, and it would be helpful to print it out, especially the appendix, which has all the tools, because we will be working with those. So yeah, just come ready to have some fun. Yeah.
There's a question here from Goldie. Do you find situations where the child is brought to you, but the table is turned and the parent needs it more?
All the time. All the time. And all the time. And again, I will talk about this in the coaching. What I tend to do, in the training, what I tend to do is I say to the parents on day one that, in the training, I'll teach you how to run that first initial session with the young person and the parents. And I often say to the parents, 4 or 5 sessions with your child and then 1 session with you. So yeah, I often find that the parents do need that support as well. Yeah. I include them in the coaching plan.
And then I think, and they have to be don't they? When you're coaching minors, they're absolutely integral, and they have to know what's going on, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing we go over in the training, how to give feedback to the caregiver or the family or the parents, because often parents want to know what's happening, and so how to manage that sort of side of things.
And keep that safe, courageous space for the child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Another question here, I think this will be the last question we can do right now, and then because I want to give a little more information. Are you finding you're working with more young people due to COVID, isolation, and are you noticing any trends?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, most of my work I'm doing at the moment is, I guess, a result of our young people learning to deal with COVID. They're dealing with so much at the moment, the pressure of online learning and exams coming up for a lot of young people, the stress and grief. There's fear, then there's anxiety, there's worry, there's grief of letting go a way of life that they've been used to in the past, grief of not being able to see all their friends so much at the moment. It's a whole new way of being, and social isolation as well. Yes, they're like this, they're online the whole time, which is half the problem, you know. So I'm finding I'm probably getting a lot more young people, a lot more teenagers, probably 12 years old and upwards, as they learn to cope with COVID at the moment. Yeah. And I don't see that changing actually. Yeah.
And then another question here, would the training help me with my own kids?
Absolutely. For sure. And these tools you can use with the kids. In fact, those strength cards, a lot of parents, I use them all the time, but a lot of the parents buy them as well. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The training will help you with your own kids. Yeah.
I think some of the homework is to use some of these tools with your kids if you have kids, or with
Yeah,
somebody
exactly. Yeah.
of that age group. So that'd be
Yeah.
a great place to try.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, so just want to give some information. Thank you, Rachel. Always a delight to hear from you and what you're up to, and you're so knowledgeable and so passionate about this, working with this group of people.
Yeah.
So we do. I just put in the chat a link to our website, the greenlightgo.es website. If you want more information, or you want to register, or if you want to talk to either somebody here at Greenlight Go or Rachel, we're available to talk about the course. We have the dates are listed, but I'll just say them quickly. We'll start on April 6th, and we're going to do it every Tuesday afternoon from April 6th, April 13th, April 20th, April 27th. So it gives you plenty of time to integrate in between and work with some of the tools, and then come bring them back and share your learning and have any, answer any questions that you might have. It goes from 3 in the afternoon to 7 p.m. Central European time. So it's a pretty convenient time, just 4 days a week. Anything else you want to say about the course, Rachel?
Yeah, have we talked about it being ICF accredited? We've talked about that.
No, we haven't.
I think it's important to note that it is an ICF accredited, an International Coaches Federation accredited course. So you will get, if you are an ICF coach, you will get continuing education units, 15 by what I understand. Is that correct? 15?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, and by what I understand, it's 10 hours of core competencies and 5 hours of resource development. If you're ICF accredited and that interests you, yeah.
That's one of the things that we're striving for all of our advanced programs to make sure that they're ICF accredited, because we want to also support the coaches in their continuing education. And if you're at your ACC, PCC, or you have to renew your credentials, this gives you some of those credits in a very incredible and interactive course.
Yeah, it's a great course for those that are looking to extend their skills and develop their skills in working with this niche. It's fun, it's experiential. Yes, we begin with the model, we begin with the process, but the rest of the course, 80% of the course is all hands-on, working with the tools, learning the tools. Yeah.
Great. All right. For any reason I cannot attend one of the 4 days, can we make up for the later training?
I'm sure we could probably work something out. Yeah, I'm sure we could probably work something out.
Well, those don't work. Yeah. So yeah, if you, again, more information or more questions, we're available here at Greenlight Go. There's lots of information on the website, and also Rachel's always available.
Yeah.
And so thank you for coming and being here, and thank you, Rachel, especially for all that information and just your passion for this this niche. And it's so needed in this world today.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Okay.